Hello and welcome to Arnie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Ghost Ship. The harbour lay shrouded in a fog so dense it seemed to breathe, curling around the weathered piers like tendrils of some spectral beast. Holly Arnold stood at the edge of the dock, her boots planted firmly on the slick wooden planks, her hazel eyes piercing the mist. At 17, she was no stranger to puzzles, lost pets, pilfered trinkets, the occasional unraveling of a small-town secret, but today promised something far grander. A ship was emerging from the haze, its silhouette jagged and forlorn, sails drooping like the wings of a wounded bird. No voices called from its deck. No lanterns flickered in welcome. It drifted, silent and unguided, a derelict vessel bearing secrets in its timbers. Holly had arrived in this coastal town only a week ago, intent on a quiet summer with her uncle, the harbour master. She had envisioned lazy days by the sea, perhaps cracking a minor mystery or two to keep her mind sharp. But this was no missing cat or misplaced fishing net. As the ship drew nearer, its name became visible, etched in faded paint along the hull, the spectral dawn. A murmur rippled through the gathering crowd of dock workers and fishermen. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The port authorities acted swiftly, their small boats buzzing out to intercept the vessel before it could collide with the harbour's defences. Holly watched, her breath catching as the first men clambered aboard. Minutes stretched into an eternity until a shout broke the stillness. "The captain's dead." The words hung in the air, heavy and ominous. Holly's pulse quickened. She glanced at her uncle, a burly man with a face carved by years of wind and worry, as he strode toward her. "Holly," he said, his voice low, "they found him in his cabin. No one else on board, at least not that they've seen. The police are coming, but this is beyond us. You've got that clever head of yours. Maybe you could take a look." "I'd be glad to." Uncle boarding the ship felt like stepping into a storybook, one of those thrilling tales she devoured by lamplight. The deck was a chaos of neglect, ropes coiled haphazardly, barrels tipped over, a lone bucket rolling with the gentle sway of the tide. The air carried a sharp tang of salt mingled with decay, and beneath it a faint metallic hint she couldn't place. She followed the officers to the captain's quarters, her senses alert, her mind already cataloguing details. Inside, the scene was a tableau of disorder. The captain lay slumped across his desk, his withered hands still clutching a quill as if death had caught him mid-thought. A tarp had been draped over him, but Holly could see the edges of his uniform stained, disheveled. The cabin itself told a story of its own, charts strewn across the floor, a lantern shattered in a corner, a plate of half-eaten bread and fish abandoned beside a tipped-over mug. She slipped on a pair of gloves, her constant companions, tucked in her satchel for just such occasions, and began her inspection. Her eyes fell on the logbook, its pages splayed open beneath the captain's lifeless form. She gently lifted his arm, wincing at the stiffness, and read the final entry. The script was unsteady, scrawled in haste. Day 23, supplies near gone, heard footsteps in the hold last night, suspect a stowaway, will confront at dawn. The words ended in a jagged smear of ink, the quill's path veering off as if yanked from the page. Holly's mind raced. A stowaway. That was her thread, the first stitch in the tapestry of this mystery. She turned to Officer Brandt, a gruff man with a salt and pepper beard who'd been assigned to oversee her presence. "Have you searched the ship for others? We've done a quick pass." "Nothing yet, but it's a big ship. Plenty of nooks for hiding." Holly nodded. "I think the killer's still here. If the captain suspected a stowaway and went to confront him, something went wrong. We need to find where he's hiding." Without waiting for approval, she descended into the ship's belly, her footsteps echoing in the dim. The cargo hold awaited below, a cavernous space lit only by slivers of light piercing through cracked planks overhead. The air was thick, laden with the musk of damp wood and the faint sweetness of spices from distant lands. She moved carefully, her eyes adjusting to the gloom, and soon spotted signs of disruption. Crates spread open, bolts of silk spilling out like blood from a wound, a barrel of apples overturned and rotting. Then, in a shadowed corner, she found a makeshift camp. A pile of straw served as a bed, surrounded by empty tins of sardines and a crumpled blanket. Someone had lived here, perhaps for days or weeks, unseen by the crew. Her gaze sharpened as she noticed a glint amidst the straw locket, its silver surface tarnished but intact. She knelt, opened it, and found a faded photograph inside, a woman with tired eyes and a child clinging to her skirt. A pang of curiosity struck her. Who was this stowaway, and what had driven him to this desperate refuge? A sudden detail caught her eye, a smear of blood on the floor, dark and fresh, trailing away from the camp. The stowaway was injured, perhaps in the confrontation with the captain. That changed things. An injured man couldn't move far or fast. Holly followed the trail, her heart pounding in rhythm with her steps. The blood led her out of the hold and into a labyrinth of corridors, each turn narrower and darker than the last. The ship groaned around her, its timbers creaking as if protesting her intrusion. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, and every sound, every drip of water, every rustle set her nerves alight. The trail ended at a small storage room, a store ajar just enough to reveal a sliver of darkness within. Holly paused, her breath shallow, and listened. There it was, a rugged gasp, followed by a low, pained groan. She tightened her grip on her flashlight, a sturdy tool she grabbed from her uncle's shed and pushed the door open. The beam of light revealed a man crumpled against the wall, his face pale and glistening with sweat. His right hand pressed against a wound in his side, blood seeping through his fingers, while his left clutched a pistol, its barrel trembling as he tried to raise it. Beside him lay a small leather pouch, its contents spilling out to diamond, large and luminous, catching the light in a kaleidoscope of brilliance. The prize, Holly realized, the motive behind this deadly drama. She steadied herself, her voice cutting through the tension. "It's over, you're hurt, badly. Put down the gun, and I'll get you help." The man's eyes met hers. "I didn't mean to," he rasped. "He caught me, tried to lock me up. We fought, and his gun. It went off. I just wanted the stone. For my family." Holly's heart twisted. "I understand. Desperation can push us to dark places, but you can't undo what's done. Lower the gun, please." For a moment, he hesitated. Then, with a shuddering breath, he let the pistol fall, its clatter echoing in a confined space. Holly kicked it aside and shouted for Officer Brandt, who arrived with reinforcements moments later. As they handcuffed the stowaway and carried him away, Holly lingered, the diamond now in her gloved hands, its beauty marred by the cost of its pursuit. Back on deck, the fog had begun to lift, the sun casting tentative rays across the harbor. Her uncle approached, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "You've done it, Holly. Solved a murder before the police could even get their bearings." She managed a faint smile. "Thanks, Uncle, but it's not just about solving it. That man, he was trying to save his family, or so he says. Doesn't make it right, but it makes it complicated." "You're wise for your years, lass. Maybe you're meant for this detective business." Holly gazed out at the sea, the spectral dawn now tethered and still. Maybe. But right now, I think I've had my fill of ghost ships for one summer. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.